But I would always scratch my head thinking, why are these guys struggling? Why
Right.
are they're just struggling all the time? They went to the best schools, passed the CPA the first time, graduated college cum laude, and that didn't guarantee them success. Everything in life has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And after 16 years in my tax resolution practice, I had 125 people in 15,000 square feet. I mean, we were servicing between 3,000 to 4,000 clients a year. And, it was time for me to exit. And I always thought, I did all the training at my firm. I did not only the technical training, but I also did a lot, of course, all the marketing and the advertising. I was the face of the company. I did all the interviews, I did all the videos, I did all of that. And this was probably like 2011, 2012, 2013, when online was starting to explode. I knew I wanted to do something online. And at the time, with my current business I had some, look, a partnership is like a marriage. And this one didn't, it was like a divorce. This was like a nasty divorce. And thank God for this lady, because she's the one who saw what was going on and like pulled me out of the fire.
Nice.
There was a short window of opportunity for her to pull me out of the fire. Otherwise, who knows? I still might even be there. And I knew I wanted to do something online. And look, every time I went to an event and I would be with my peers, I always would scratch my head, because these guys, these CPAs and EAs and tax attorneys, were a lot smarter than me technically, Roland. I mean, it took me 3 times to pass the CPA exam. I was a C+ student in college. I was not like, the smartest tool in the shed when it came to, book learning. However, I knew how to connect with people. I knew how to transfer emotion. I really cared about helping people. And I would always scratch my head thinking, why are these guys struggling? Why are they're just struggling all the time? They went to the best schools, passed the CPA the first time, graduated college cum laude, and that didn't guarantee them success. So the missing part was the marketing. So I started taking surveys at these seminars and conferences, and the biggest thing was, I don't know how to market. I don't know how to get leads. I don't know how to close the sale. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start an online business. And we didn't know what the heck we were doing back in June 2014. I did a 4-hour launch without no list, not knowing what I was doing. And I think 750 people showed up and 400 people bought a 297 product. And that launched this business.
That is a heck of a launch. So how did you do that, not having a list or not knowing how to do any of this stuff?
Well, one of the most important things I can convey to anyone who's listening, who's thinking about doing that, the tax resolution industry is only 22 years old. Prior to 1998, there was no such thing as tax resolution. Then President Clinton signed the 98 Tax Reform and Restructuring Act, which gave birth to this industry. So there was 3 of us who were on the ground floor, and I had affinity with those folks. They were like the friends of mine. One guy does all the technical education, the other guy does the software case management, and I'm doing the marketing. So I went to them and I said, hey, Jamie, hey, Larry, would you mind if you sent a few emails? I'm doing this thing. Would you mind sending some emails? But more importantly, I said, I want you to join me on the launch. So I flew them out to Colorado. So they were in the launch. I interviewed them. So they felt really good about emailing their list. And that's how I got those people.
Oh, well done. I like it. Now, what did you do as far as scaling? So you do your launch and then you're like, okay, I got some money. Now I've got a lot of clients. Then what?
Well, the product led right into a membership. So that is the monthly reoccurring revenue.
Okay.
And then just different things. It's kind of in layers. So that's how I see things. You just add different layers. Then I had a vision of how to make that product our
Domination system.
Right. How to make it better, because I'm a very visual. And then then sold it for $3,400. So I just had that. And then it was like, we should have another level of membership. And then we sold another so it was just kind of different layers adding on. I'm always thinking of how can I make the membership better, make it kind of like a pane of disconnect. And I've learned a lot from hearing you speak, because you are all about monthly recurring revenue. And so I always like to follow you and hear what you have to say. That's very helpful to me.
Yeah, so each of the launches have gotten larger and larger because we've built a list. I have more affinity with more people, so we do, a bunch of strategic partnerships or JVs. But the other thing that I also created was when I had my resolution business, I also co-founded with my partner and another gentleman a company called Tax Audit Defense.
Okay.
And we were Tax Act's sole provider of audit protection plans. So when a consumer went on to Tax Act to file their return, when they pressed the button, our landing page came up and said, in the rare chance if you get audited, for $39.95, we'll protect you, we'll represent you. So now Tax Act has like 6 million people file their returns, and the take rate was only about 2 or 3%, which was still a lot of money.
I say 2 or 3% of 6 million.
Yes, it's still a lot of money. We made a lot of money in that company. So what I did was I reversed the model, and because all of these models are opt-in plans, so I flipped it and made it a default plan. So we sell what I call the Audit Protection System and Toolkit, Audit Protection Plan System and Toolkit, where CPAs, I guarantee them if they follow my instructions, they get an 85 to 95% take rate, and each client is paying them an extra $79.95 for the silver level plan every single year. And now they're getting paid for all the busy work they never charge for. Most CPAs, if they get a notice for their client, they just handle the notice, even if it takes them an hour.
Right.
No, you're not doing any work for free because they underestimate and undervalue their services. So we have members who make 50 grand, 70 grand, 20 grand, $100,000 that drops right to the bottom line because the client now feels they have their back.
So you looked for extra services that you could provide that were valuable, obviously, to the end customer, but also that just layered on to the things that you already had. It was really smart. And I love adding on to what was the tax filing company that you put the audit plan?
Tax Act.
Tax Act. So now, did you know somebody there?
No, I did not know. Although the third partner was more like an acquisitions guy, an M&A guy. So he made the contact there.
Okay. Because I would say a lot of people, I'm sure, would be, it's such an easy way to get additional business, to form these strategic relationships.
Yes.
And you mentioned you have a lot right now. How do you go about identifying those and then kind of locking them down?
Again, on these launches that we do, and it's a different marketing. So, someone who wants the audit protection plan system is a much broader audience, because you don't really need to be licensed to do that product. All you need to be is a professional tax preparer. So it's a much broader audience. So there's more potential customers for that. And we've done 3 or 4 launches.
We kind of do it annually, like November.
We do that one annually.
That one we don't market a lot, but we just kind of do it every year. And I think being also in business for 6 years, a lot of people have become successful, and people are hearing it. They've seen Michael. He does a lot of he's out there doing content videos. He's out doing Taxman on the Street and different things. And I think people saying he's the real deal, and that anybody that comes in our membership, it's all about value. I mean, that's what I learned from all the people that we admire, is that if you're going to buy something from us, you're going to get more value beyond what you've invested. And that has helped our business model a lot.
Yep.